Okay, great. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here for our special keynote presentation this evening. We are so delighted to be able to host Dr. Natasha Smet for our talk. I do want to, before we get started, I do want to introduce the board of the AAPI OT Association because I do see a few of them on the call. So I do want to introduce, my name is Karen Parks. I'm the president of AAPI OT. And we also have Danielle. I always get the last name. Sorry, Danielle.
It's okay. It's Taglicop.
Tapukop, yes, and who's vice president of AAPI OT. And then Nurali Maru, who's here, she is treasurer of the association. And Elena Meng, she is also one of our cultural liaisons within the association. So we have a few of the leadership board here joining us. And so I do want to introduce our guest speaker for the keynote presentation, who's going to be sharing a really wonderful presentation with us this evening. So Dr. Natasha Smet is an associate professor and academic fieldwork coordinator at the University of Western States in Portland, Oregon. She brings over a decade of diverse clinical experiences across pediatric settings and a strong background in academic leadership, curriculum development, and accreditation across all levels of OT education. Dr. Smet holds an OTD from the University of Toledo and a BS in OT from Mount Mary University, and is currently pursuing a PhD in higher education leadership at Colorado State University. Her academic career began in 2016, progressing to full-time roles and leadership positions, including program director and director of curriculum, a recognized scholar and editor of the 6th edition of Pediatric Skills for Occupational Therapy Assistants. Dr. Smet focuses her research on children and youth, neurodivergent adult learners, and social justice. She's a frequent presenter at national, international conferences and is an active contributor to continuing education. Named a fellow of the American Occupational Therapy Association just recently at the recent AOTA Inspire in Philadelphia, Dr. Smet is licensed in Colorado, and Oregon, and remains involved with several state and national professional organizations. Outside of work, she enjoys travel, cooking, swimming, watching women's sports, and spending time with her spouse, her child Z, and their dogs Benny, Stella, and Jax. So I'm going to hand it off over to you, Natasha. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for a wonderful welcome. I'm very casual. You're all welcome to call me Natasha. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my presentation titled Detours to Destiny, My Unexpected Journey to Authorship. Karen has done such a wonderful job introducing me. I'm Natasha, and a few of my occupational roles include mom, wife, life partner, sister, aunt, mentee, educator, graduate student, author, and occupational therapy practitioner. You've mentioned some of my favorite occupations, so I think we can skip that part, but as you can tell, I really enjoy spending time with my family. That's got to be by far my favorite. And right now it's basketball season. We are huge fans of the WNBA. And so that's where we're spending a lot of our time right now. Here is a roadmap or overview of the presentation this evening. And before I get going, I will let you know I have a visual impairment, so don't mind my eyes. They do a lot of funky things, I've been told before. So please just bear with me as we go through the presentation. I have a screen filter to enlarge everything for me. And so I have received that feedback before. They're like, Natasha, what's going on with your eyes? I'm like, I'm legally blind. And that's something that people don't know about me. So before we begin, I am delivering this presentation in the tradition of narrative storytelling. As an anti-racist educator, narrative counter-storytelling is the means of cultural preservation. And today, I have chosen to honor my elders and ancestors using this format. In the sugarcane fields of KwaZulu-Natal, my great-grandparents would gather under the scorching South African sun. Despite their exhaustion, they shared stories of resilience passed down through generations. One particular story tells of a woman named Devi, who arrived in South Africa in chains, but carried with her the seeds of knowledge that no one could take away. Each night, she would teach one person one thing she knew, believing that wisdom shared grows stronger. When knowledge becomes collective, She would say, the community rises together. This philosophy that true advancement comes only when all rise together echoes through time to guide me still. Today, I want to share with you my journey to becoming an author, a path shaped by my heritage as a South African of Indian descent, where the largest community of Indian people outside of India still reside today. My ancestors were forcibly relocated by the British to work on sugarcane plantations, and their stories of perseverance flow through my veins. Many have called me an accidental scholar, but I've come to understand there are no accidents, only detours that lead us to our destiny. My road to authorship wasn't a straight path or predictable. It was forged through twin philosophies that have guided my life. The first, Ubuntu, I am because we are, and Sarvodaya, what Mahatma Gandhi described as the upliftment of all. These principles teach us that our individual advancement is meaningless unless it elevates our entire community. As I share my story with you, I invite you to see how these ancestral wisdoms have shaped my journey through adversity and the transformative power of allyship and our shared responsibility to lift others as we climb. With an adverse childhood experience or ACE score of a 9 out of 10, the odds of academic success were stacked against me from the beginning. The statistics for someone with my background are really grim. Increased likelihood of dropping out, substance abuse, and even incarceration. But statistics don't account for two powerful forces: internal determination and community support. My relationship with writing began with struggle, not talent. During my freshman year, I submitted what I thought was a well-crafted paper. When it came back, the margins were filled with red ink, and at the top was a note that would change my trajectory. You have important ideas, my instructor said, but your writing doesn't yet do them justice. Come and see me. That feedback cuts so deeply. And in my culture, there's a concept called izat, the honor and reputation that makes criticism or feedback feel like it extends beyond you to your family and your ancestors. But another cultural value prevailed: menat, the belief in hard work and persistence as a path to excellence. So, taking this principle to heart, I committed to spending 4 hours every week at our campus writing center for the next 4 years. If I was paying that big student loan bill, I was taking advantage of every free resource we had on the campus. So, through bitter winters and beautiful springs, even when assignments weren't due, I was there learning, practicing, refining, and often I was the only student present, working with tutors who became my first writing community. Thank you, Amy, Joy, and all the sisters at Mount Mary. By my senior year, what once felt like punishment had become a passion. My essays exploring the intersection of the injustices and South African lived experiences were published in our English department's journal, a small victory that felt monumental at that time. When I was selected as the valedictorian, I realized how far I'd come. The speech I gave that day was the first time I truly understood the power of my own voice. And then I moved on to my early career, and graduate school brought new challenges. So, despite my improved writing skills, my academic work didn't lead to publications. I encountered what many BIPOC professionals face in predominantly white fields: invisibility, alternating with hypervisibility, having my ideas overlooked until they were repeated by others, and the exhausting dance of speaking truth while managing others' comfort levels. White supremacy within occupational therapy wasn't always overt. Sometimes it was the subtle surprise at my articulation, the questioning of my qualifications, or the suggestion that my perspective was too niche for the mainstream publications. These barriers are real, and acknowledging them isn't playing a race card. It's naming a structural reality that many of us navigate daily. So early in my career, I wrote my first article for OT Practice magazine titled Networking 101. I saw it as a one-time contribution, not the beginning of a writer's journey. Yet looking back, I recognized it as an essential step on a path I couldn't yet see. So the role of community. In the moments of professional isolation I felt, being a person of color, I found strength in the concept of Ubuntu. I am because we are. When I struggled to find mentorship within my immediate professional circle, and believe me, I tried. I would reach out to people asking for mentorship all the time back then. And I had so many people who wouldn't respond or just didn't want to take on a mentee in me. And so I turned to broader communities. Online forums became my classroom. And you all, please don't laugh, but back in the day, Facebook was so popular with people my generation and still is. And so the Facebook pediatric therapy groups became my colleagues and my confidants. So in these digital spaces, I found practitioners willing to share their knowledge freely, celebrate others' successes, and offer guidance without expecting anything in return. This embodied both Ubuntu and Sarvodaya, the upliftment of all, reminding me that even in an individualistic profession, we can still create collectivist spaces of support. And then the serendipitous moment. So several years ago, I was in one of my Facebook forums when I found myself interacting with a woman named Jane. And this is how oblivious I was at the time. I see this white woman who would become one of my most significant allies. And at the time, that's what I saw, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm connecting with this lady, really neat. I had no idea who she was at the time. So our conversation flowed easily from clinical approaches to literature we both enjoyed. And only as we were exchanging contact information did I learn that she was the editor for a major textbook publisher. And 2 weeks later, I received a message with something to the effect of, I've been thinking about our conversation, and we're working on the next edition of a pediatric textbook. And I believe your perspective would be valuable. Would you consider writing a chapter? My immediate instinct was to decline. I thought, oh my goodness, is this woman nuts? Like, she doesn't know me and a fairly new grad. Why would she ask me? And so surely there were more qualified authors, like in my mind, right? And so Jane's follow-up message shifted my thinking. She said, I don't need someone who's written extensively before. I need someone with fresh insights and the determination to communicate them clearly. From our brief interaction, I believe that's you. This moment illustrates the power of allyship. Jane used her privilege and position not as a savior, but as a door opener, recognizing value where others might not have looked. So our meeting through a Facebook group of all places highlights how unconventional paths can lead to pivotal opportunities. So with trembling hands, I accepted the invitation. That single chapter led to co-authoring opportunities, which led to being named the editor of the same textbook in which I once wrote my first sole author chapter. And so Jane's belief in me, a belief I hadn't yet fully developed in myself, was the catalyst that transformed my relationship with writing from occasional practice to professional identity. Throughout my journey, one principle has emerged as central to my professional philosophy: Sarvodaya, the upliftment of all. This concept, championed by Mohandas or Mahatma Gandhi, but echoing the Ubuntu philosophy of my South African homeland, teaches that true progress only occurs when it benefits the entire community. Every opportunity I've received came because someone chose to share their knowledge, their platform, or their belief in my potential. The only appropriate response to such generosity, in my mind, is to extend it to others. So 10 years ago, reflecting on my own journey, I recognized a gap in our profession. We had no structured program to help OT and OTA students, particularly those from historically marginalized backgrounds, develop as practitioners or scholars. Many brilliant practitioners have so many valuable insights, but many don't share those beyond their immediate practice setting because they may lack guidance on how to enter the scholarly conversation. They just might be shy. They may not know where to begin. And so this realization led me to develop what is now called the COTAD mentoring program, which pairs students with experienced clinicians or scholars through formal mentoring relationships. The program includes a one-on-one mentorship relationship for at least a year. And even when I look back, I think of what the name was originally. We called it the Minority Mentorship Program. I mean, I'm just appalled now. I'd never call it that, but once you know better, you do better. And so even though I'm no longer a member of COTAD or affiliated with the program, I've learned that it has supported over 150 mentor and mentee pairs. And when participants of the mentoring program thank me, sometimes they see me at conference like, oh, you're the gal who started this program and I met my mentor there and it was wonderful, or whatever the case may be. I remind them that gratitude is best expressed through action, by mentoring others when they're ready. And that's been a big part of my professional identity. And so it's really important to me because this creates a ripple effect of opportunity and support that extends far beyond what any individual could accomplish alone. I believe that as professionals, we have three fundamental responsibilities: to serve the people that we serve with excellence, so our clients or patients or community members, to advance our field through continuous learning, and to elevate those coming behind us. This third responsibility of elevation is often overlooked in professional development, yet it may be the most critical for the long-term health of our profession. When we hoard knowledge, compete rather than collaborate, or fail to make space for new voices, we diminish not just individual potential, but our collective impact. So elevation isn't a distraction from excellence, it's a pathway to it. By helping others develop their voices, we enrich the professional dialogue and ultimately improve outcomes for those we serve. So for those of you feeling inspired to begin your own writing journey, I want to offer some practical guidance based on my experience. First, I'd say start small and build gradually. Begin with shorter pieces like newsletters, blogs, or association publications before tackling peer-reviewed journals or books. Practice is non-negotiable. That's next. Writing is a craft that improves only through consistent effort. Set aside regular time, even if it's just 15 to 30 minutes 3 times a week. Embrace feedback as growth. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable when receiving critique or feedback. Remember that feedback addresses your work, not your worth. And I think that is something that we can all learn from. It feels so personal, but when you have great mentors and colleagues who really want to invest in you and help you grow your skills, take that feedback, grow with it, run with it, and it does pay off in the end. And then next, master the technical elements. Get your APA 7th edition on lockdown if you want to be a serious scholar. Learn to use citation management software like Zotero or Mendeley or EndNote. These tools will save you countless hours of frustration. And we can talk a little bit more about that in our Q&A and our sharing circle coming up. Next, choose opportunities wisely. Don't rush into projects like book chapters just for the street cred. A lot of people do that. They're like, oh, I want to write a book chapter. Let me do that. But remember, if you do a poor job, that's your reputation at stake. Quality matters more than quantity. And I'm not sure if my mentor made it onto the call tonight, but if you are here, I just want to give you a shout out and thank you. When I had the opportunity to do this for the first time, I brought my mentor along because I knew that she had more experience at writing than I did, and we could go on the journey together, right? And so don't do things alone. Take your friends with you. Find great mentors and don't be flaky. Show up, meet deadlines, and demonstrate that an investment in you will yield returns. This profession is built on an apprenticeship model. Also, everybody knows everybody. If you're going to burn a bridge, it's got to be worth burning. It's a very small profession. I burned some bridges and I was okay with that, but I'm at the point in my career where I can stand on that reputation now. In the early stages of my career, that wasn't the case. Right? And so remember that writing is an art. It requires both the technical and the creative vision. And develop your own unique voice while respecting the conventions of scholarly discourse. Next, understand the commitment. Publication requires persistence through multiple drafts and revisions. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. But most importantly, remember that your perspective matters. Our profession needs diverse voices to truly serve diverse populations. Your lived experiences, your cultural wisdom, and unique insights are not peripheral to occupational therapy scholarship. They are essential to its evolution. So my journey from a child with an ACE score of a 9 to an author and mentor wasn't a straight path, but a series of detours that in retrospect were exactly what I needed. I am here this evening, not through individual merit alone, but because I stand on the shoulders of incredible ancestors who survived the brutality of colonialism and indentured labor to ensure that their children would have opportunities they never did. Today, I honor my Asian Indian heritage while paying homage to my homeland of South Africa. I carry forward the wisdom of both traditions, Sarvodaya and Ubuntu, the recognition that my success is meaningful only when it contributes to our collective elevation. So as you consider your own professional path, I invite you to embrace these ancestral wisdoms. First, see yourself as a part of a greater community whose advancement is tied to your own. Second, recognize that barriers like white supremacy are real, but allyship and community can help us navigate and ultimately transform these systems. And finally, commit to elevation as a professional practice. Ask yourself regularly, who can I lift? Whose voice can I amplify? And what doors can I open for others that were opened for me? So, like Devi and my opening story, we each carry seeds of knowledge that grow stronger when shared. Our responsibility is not just to cultivate our own gardens, but to ensure that others have the soil, the water, and the light that they need to flourish. The story of Devi continues through each of us when we choose to share what we know, when we recognize that knowledge doesn't diminish when divided, but multiplies when offered freely. In the sugarcane fields of KwaZulu-Natal, my ancestors understood that survival depended on community. In the scholarly fields of our profession, our advancement depends on the same principle. We rise together or we don't truly rise at all. So next, I invite you all to engage in a sharing circle where we can ask questions of each other and share thoughts and ideas together.
Thank you, Natasha. That was a great presentation
You're welcome.
and a really good lessons to learn. So we want to open up the floor for everyone for open discussion. Feel free to share your thoughts or any questions you may have for Natasha, or if you're on the path of writing and you need some tips and tricks, Natasha is right here.
Yes, I'd like to get to know more of the community members here this evening. If we haven't connected, my information is coming up, so you can stay connected with me. I recognize that not everybody feels comfortable asking questions in a public forum. I am married to an extreme introvert, so I'm always mindful of the introverts in the group. So if this doesn't feel like the established safe space yet, I respect and honor that, and we're welcome to, have this dialogue another time. I always make myself available to our community, especially because we all need each other, especially right now, where the world just feels a little less safe to some of us. So please reach out, and feel free to ask questions here. I certainly don't have all the answers to all the things. I'm constantly reaching out to other colleagues and mentors saying, hey, I know you have expertise in X, Y, and Z. Would you happen to have some time where we could brainstorm and talk through some things? I am the friend that will give you a Starbucks gift card for your time and expertise. That is me. I know how to do that. And then I have a bunch of friends who are boycotting Starbucks. So I like, what else can I do for you right now? So here we are. You can ask me all the things. I can tell you, while you're thinking up some things, I could tell you a couple of my chapters did come with a lot of tears. A couple of my first publications were rejected. Two of them flat out rejections. Cried over those because I thought the work was important, but I didn't have the right mentors at the time to see those articles through fruition. And so I kept trying to gain more skills so that I could help others because I didn't feel like I had that support. And that's actually what eventually led me to pursue an additional degree and then an additional degree because I just didn't seem to find the same level of support that some of my other colleagues did.
I would like to ask you one question, Natasha. So, like, let's say if somebody is looking to start moving in the direction of the path to publishing, what would be your top 3 or 5 things that you would say, like, let's start from here and definitely to guide in that direction?
Okay, so one of the things that's a little bit easier if you want to get established, I always like to suggest OT Practice Magazine. as a great starting point, and here's why. It is the most widely read publication. And also think about access, right? Not everybody has access to the journals, but OT Practice Magazine is widely accessible to AOTA members. And so it's one of the things that I often recommend. And what you usually do is you would reach out to the editor of the magazine and you say, I have an idea for a topic. Is this a topic that you would be interested in receiving an article about? And they will say yay or nay. And they do give you an opportunity, like if you submit something, they do give you feedback if you need to make some edits. So that is one suggestion. You can also do some blogs, and if you don't have one, you can ask to be a guest author on a blog. You can write for newsletters. You can be a guest editor for a guest author for a newsletter. Those are great places to start. And then a lot of scholars don't mind working with people who are willing to be mentored, and if you have an interest in that level of scholarship, find the people that are your OT idols and are writing about the things that really spark your interest. You have to be excited about what you work on. I saw someone enter the space. Is Pooja still on the call? Is Pooja here?
Yeah, yes. Hi.
Hi, Pooja. I'm calling you out, friend. Uh, so Pooja's had such an incredible story, in launching her own business, and it's been exciting for me to watch the evolution of Pooja's business just as a spectator, right? We're in two very different spaces. I'm in the peds world, she's in the older adult world, but I've just admired the work that Pooja's done. And so you get to see certain names, and I'm like, wow, that is such a great person to be following if you have an interest in that topic. And because I don't know a lot about that topic, that is the one person that I tend to follow their work, because I'm like, oh, I could learn so much from that person on that topic. So I mostly follow Pooja on LinkedIn because I am not as savvy. I don't have a TikTok and some of the other spaces where other people hang out, but that's a space that I know that I can follow. And, I know that many people are willing to have apprentices. So that's an avenue, certainly. Did that answer the question? Was that a meaningful answer?
Yeah, that was very helpful.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Hi, Natasha. Thanks for the talk. My name is also Pooja, so it was confusing.
Oh,
Sorry.
Patel, sorry.
It's a fairly common Indian name, so you can't help it.
Sorry, Pooja Patel. I saw Pooja pop on here, and I know Pooja Patel's work. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, that's fine. Thank you for sharing. There were a lot of small nuggets that I was smiling as I was listening. So thank you for sharing all your wisdom. And I really love the AI generated images too. It just is flowing well with the talk. I have a question. I've done some writing, but writing kind of intimidates me. And what suggestions do you have for someone who um maybe wanting to start a project like a paper or something, but is intimidated by all the work and all the writing?
Okay, so what I did was I actually linked up with a few scholars who were willing to give me that feedback. So I asked some friends, I said, do you have the time and capacity in your life right now to take a look at my work? And I said, be really honest with me. And a long time ago, I got really honest feedback about it. And they said, Natasha, this is a really, really, really rough draft, like this is the coal, right? Like this is the coal, and you're probably going to have like 6 or 7 iterations before it it's anywhere close to resembling an article. And I was like, oh, okay, great, that's excellent. Like, what can I do to improve this? And there were some things that helped me. The APA 7th edition manual is very helpful. But the thing is, a lot of us are intimidated just even in tackling something like that manual, right? You just have to go slow and chunk it, right? Really chunk it. Commit to like reading in 10-minute increments. Look at other papers of interest. See what their style is like. See what goes into the different sections. And then, you know, go into some of the forums and ask, like in community, you can ask the people who are doing that work and say, oh, is there anybody doing this work? And then you email them separately. You'd be so surprised at how many people actually do want to help. And where I found a lot more help and success is people that were newly retired that just still also wanted to have some kind of relevance, because people go through this like loss of identity when they retire. And so you can also get support there. But there's also this community. There are many wonderful scholars within this community. And so so let me ask you this. What is your area of practice or your topic that you are interested in?
I'm interested in like for example, this topic itself, like cultural diversity in OT, you know, how it impacts differences and perspectives and everyday activities.
Okay, so like if you want to look at it from a like theoretical standpoint, like which theorist do you like? Like which framing do you like? So I take a social justice approach to my work now. My work now is a little bit controversial than when I started 10 years ago. You know, 10 years ago, I wouldn't even have thought to take this kind of lens to my work, talking about the DEI work through an anti-racist framework. So I look at those scholars in the OT world. I look to the occupational scientists in this space that are doing this work. There are incredible occupational therapy practitioners and educators who belong to this community. There's a wonderful faculty at the University of Illinois at Chicago that does this work, who's a member of our community, of our AAPI community, and she's well published. There's also one of my personal favorites, because I really appreciate her anti-racist approach to the DEI work, is Dr. Kalia Johnson out of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I appreciate her work as a scholar. And so I start to follow the scholars I like, and then I pull their publications. I'm like, oh, okay, let me see how they write. Let me see what frameworks they're using and ask for feedback. And that's why networking is so important. And that's where that first article stemmed from, the importance of networking. Like when you go to conferences, find these people, go to all the social events, try and see who you can connect with. I'm not sure if Louis is here tonight, but Louis is a member of this community and is also well published, a well-respected scholar in our profession. And so I like to start with our own community first, turning to our own community members and then expanding outward. But that's always a great place to start, just going to the scholars and asking. So looking on community, meeting people, following your OT idols, and even reaching out to them. They may have a recommendation. Even if they're busy, they may be able to connect you with someone who is doing that work and might be able to put you in touch with someone who could help elevate your practice, who could help elevate your writing. Now, if you're interested in pediatric textbook chapter writing, then I'm your gal, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how this works, right? Like I go to places and I just network with people, see what their scholarly interests are. My big line of research is on the lived experiences of graduate students with ADHD. So I have an open study right now on that. And so I go to a lot of those conferences and network with those folks outside of the OT world. So, going to local DEI meetings where you live, getting into the spaces, even outside of occupational therapy. And then that's a great place for us to advocate, bringing our occupational therapy lens into the community or into those other places, even connecting with local universities where you are, social work, faculty, expanding, but then bringing our OT lens to the work.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
You're welcome.
There is one question in the chat for you, Natasha. Emily has asked if do you have any recommendation for someone who is just starting to write blogs? Are there like any mentor blogs they can refer to? And also, do blogs need to include full reference list or any more, or they can be more informal?
The best, I am all about ethical work, right? If you're going to be using other people's work, you have to cite it. When I thank you all and wrap up, you will see I have a reference slide even for Google and OpenAI. This is not my work. I did not create these images. I fully support the ethical use of this type of open AI, open model AI. So ethical use of AI is really important. That expands to writing as well. You have to give credit where it's due. And this is like one of my soapboxes too, especially in our Black and Brown communities. I feel like so much of our work has gone underappreciated, unnoticed. And so we have to give people credit where it's due, even in blogs. You should. A credible blog should have a reference list at the bottom. There are people who don't feel that way, but I will tell you, those of us that look at those things will go to the end and say, where do they get their information? Especially in today's world where there's so much misinformation out there. And straight up lies, right? Out in the real world. I'm like, okay, where did they get this? I always tend to like the credibility of the blogs that have references. I think a great place to start is OT Potential. OT Potential is a good one to start. And some of you may be more familiar with some other ones. Feel free to throw them out there. I also like the Occupational Therapy Toolkit. I think that the woman who owns and runs that does a really great job. And I've already put a plug for Pooja Patel's work. Pooja does great work. So I think those are some great places to start. A long time ago, they were a lot more out there, and they kind of phased out. Like there was the Mama OT Mama had a blog that was really popular. And then over time, all of these started to become pay sites. So years ago, they were free. And then once they got super popular, they became pay sites. So starting out, I would say it's okay to get AI to help you generate your ideas. And I say generate your ideas, right? Like, but it's not okay to have AI write everything for you and then claim it as your own. So in the publication world, the textbook that I work with has a clause that you cannot use AI for textbook writing. And even then, we've had some people who have tried, and it's so easy to spot it. The savvy reader will catch it very quickly, especially the people that know you really well. They're like, that's not your voice. Because when I talked about writing and finding your voice, people that know you and know your writing will know your voice. And so just be mindful of that. And then it depends on the topic, right? Like I fully support you going into AI and coming up with, even like if you wanted, let's say 52 weeks of ideas, let it help you generate them, and then you write them, and then you could go into Grammarly and have Grammarly help you like edit your grammar if that's something that is not a strength. Have somebody else read and review your work. And that's the other thing about the power of having a circle, right? Like a circle or community members who can look at your work for you. It's really important, like in scholarship, I have my sister scholars, my people that'll always have my back, that'll review things for me, that are my second and third set of eyes on something. So I don't know if that fully answers the blogging, but I certainly hope it gets you thinking about some things. Right. Does anybody have any other questions or feedback for me? It's a quiet group. It's also late. Maybe some of you need dinner or a snack. All right. Well, our facilitator of the questions, are there any more questions in the chat? Because I can't see them when I share my screen.
Yeah, no more questions. A lot of kind words and thank yous for you.
Oh, that's really kind. Well, I am so thankful to share this time and this space with you. Here are my references. I'm very thankful to AI for helping me make my slides pretty. I just want to thank you for allowing me to share my journey with you this evening. I look forward to reading your words, hearing your voices, and witnessing how you will each contribute to the upliftment of all in our profession. And please stay connected with me. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Instagram. I have a funny story about that. My very first cohort of learners wanted to make me more hip and keep in touch with me. So they helped me make this Instagram. And so I have this Instagram page. It used to be Dr. T, the Peds OT. And I thought that was a little pretentious. I'm like, I'm not just Natasha, the OT, right? Like, so just feel free to email me too if you have a project and you just want some very easy feedback on an idea. I can get back to you. I will tell you, I am like in the midst of a really tight deadline for the book that I'm working on, the textbook that I'm working on. And so my responses are a little bit slow in email right now, so please forgive me until like mid-July when I can come up for air with the textbook. That is not the best way to reach me, but if you send me a quick message on Insta or LinkedIn, I can get back to you faster that way, because I have like 100 book emails waiting for me, and it's hard to sift through all the things, but it's been so wonderful to share this time and space with all of you. And thank you, Pooja. Now that I've stopped sharing, I can also see the comments, and you all are kind, and there's Pooja's stuff. Yeah, so it's so good to see you now, Pooja. I can actually see now that I'm not sharing my screen.
Thanks for sharing your story, Natasha, and for all those wonderful shout outs. Like Natasha, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I work with older adults and their families, but I've also had a sort of informal route into writing. And so I put it in the chat if there's anything that you ever want to bounce off of me as well. And to all of Natasha's points about using AI, yeah, that's there to help you brainstorm and give you ideas. And at the end of it all, it needs to be you who, it's your voice and your experience and your expertise. But you can use it to help guide you so that when you're stuck or you're scared or you're intimidated, you have a starting point and you don't have to start from a blank page.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for your insights, Pooja. And thank you for being here. So since it's a wonderful event, let's all take a picture if everyone is up for it. We can
Sure.
all take a, I don't know, a screenshot selfie. If anyone is comfortable, you can turn on your cameras and we can capture you. There you go. All right, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me take a couple more. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care.
Natasha. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Thank you for everything. I really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah, it
you.
was so
so
nice
much.
meeting you, Natasha.
So nice to meet you. Stay in touch with me. Let me know how I can be of support.
Yeah, definitely. I will surely reach out to you. I have been scared. Actually, I have been meaning to go on this path, but it's just too scary. So,
Well, let's find a time. We can have a meeting. If you just give me till like mid-July, let's find a time and we can come up with a plan together.